So here I am moving my settlers around again. I just lost one of them because I ran out of food in Rome. That can happen because in addition to eating up production in your cities in the form of those little shields you see in the city menus, you also use up food when you're dealing with settlers. They're different from other units in that way. In fact, if your food production is insufficient to support a settler in a city, the settler won't initially be built. You can only lose the settler later if you had enough food at the time you built it, but then exhausted the food once the settler was in the field. Another thing that can prevent settler production is if you have insufficient population in the city, so less than level 1 or 10,000 people. Producing a settler will reduce the level of the city by 1. Speaking of that, population naturally is starting to climb now as my older cities start to grow. And as I continue to build more cities, it's still only 2080 BC and I've covered a pretty wide area, which is exactly what you want to do. To expand as much as possible as early as possible. So still scouting cities here, and the Aztecs have turned up right on my doorstep here. And it's given that that's their capital, this may be their only city. So I'll make peace with them now. But in the way that civilization works, I'm going to have to invade them and destroy them once I build up my military, because otherwise they're going to do the same thing to me. Because civilization's view of politics is rather extremist in this way, at least if you're talking about the original civilization. But that also means I have to now start building military units, like real military units, to be prepared for war with the Aztecs. Later versions of civilization, especially Civilization 3 onwards, are much more conducive to managing a society without war, because it's possible to trade and bribe and so on much more effectively. Which doesn't mean those games are easier, it just means you have to take a different approach, without any question. And of course I'm going to keep all these settlers because they're going to have to continue building cities. So there's my first militia unit. And now I'm going to build a barracks. The barracks allows you to build so-called veteran units, which are more effective because theoretically they're trained, whereas otherwise you're just raising conscripts essentially and not training them properly. Now, this city appears to have not built this settler because it doesn't have enough food. So I'm going to switch to barracks, and as you can see it will be built immediately because there are more shields of production than necessary for it. Another thing you can do is you can rush production much more effectively than in some of the later versions of Civilization, simply by buying an item. It'll be finished in your next turn, which may or may not be realistic, but it's certainly convenient. Of course, you have to have enough money in your treasury for that to work. But here I haven't spent money on very much of anything, so I still have plenty of money. I haven't even gotten into tax rates because they only start to become significant when you become a republic. And I am not there yet, and I will not reach that point in this playthrough. So Rome builds a barracks. And then I switch to building a phalanx. Because a phalanx is an overwhelmingly better defensive unit. So now Carthage will get its first proper military unit here. Nicopolis, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, will now get a phalanx. Brundisium will get something. Probably another phalanx. Syracuse. I'll give Syracuse a phalanx or militia. Phalanx. Change my mind. Phalanx. This will work. There we go. Already 300,000 citizens. So now the AI is telling me to build a city there, and so that's what I do. Antioch. Then Gibbon completes his epic history, the happiest civilizations in the world. And there are the Romans at the top. Generally at the chieftain skill level, it's very easy to be number one in all of those surveys. In fact, if you're not number one, you need to probably change your gameplay. So here I've developed the wheel, which seems like a natural thing. I will probably go with literacy, just because I need to develop the society technologically as much as possible. There's a phalanx, there's another phalanx, and there's my settler again. Phalanx. 400,000 citizens already, 460,000 citizens. So you can see also what happens when you build a lot of cities, even if you haven't built any irrigation yet, your population will go up very rapidly, which is also something you have to be mindful of if you switch to a republican form of government, because the larger the population of a given city, the more likely there is to be rioting. So there are over 500,000 citizens already. Now it says found a new city, so I will do that. But I am running out of time for this video. I will have to shortly switch to the next part. So I will have Palmyra build a militia and then continue in the next video.